Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Ireland's latest show, The Inside, brought to you by Sky Sports. Every week we're going to be joined by our expert panel of pundits to discuss everything happening in the Premier League. Sky Sports, your home of football. Get Sky Sports today for €20 a month for 12 months.
For me, I couldn't understand why LEWIS-SKELLY would be allowed to leave Arsenal, especially after watching him at the weekend. I think Forrest will go well under Glasner. I fancy them to go well in one of the cups. I feel like he will go for one of the cups and try to win it. I'm going to go with Chelsea to finish second. I think Xabi Alonso coming in, one game a week. He's brought in Morgan Rogers, 115 million, has to hit the ground running.
Well, Alan, here we are, the dawn of a brand new Premier League season. There's been a couple of months off. We've had World Cup action, some pre-season now. Are you a footballing man, buzzing now for the return of the season?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. I think because obviously we did the World Cup show, etc., and it was just like, it was great to have something to talk about all the time. Just felt a little bit bored over the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you, with no football. So it's nice to see it come back. Obviously been watching a bit of the EFL now that started back up as well. So been watching Celtic as well. So yeah, looking forward to it with the Premier League starting.
Strange enough, Premier League season now, 9 of the 20 teams with new managers coming in. Is it safe to say that this could potentially be one of the most open Premier League seasons of all time?
Yeah, I would back that. I think looking at it, it's definitely going to be the most uncertain. I think you're seeing 9 managers, or just under half the league has been changed. And there's been some good managers come in and obviously some unbelievable managers go. Obviously, Pep being the biggest manager leaving. You just look at some of the managers that are coming in, some of the movement. Areola going to, Liverpool. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on. I'm really interested to see how Maresca gets on with Man City after the weekend. I'm a little bit worried for them after seeing what I saw.
Yeah, big clubs like Liverpool, like City, changing managers at the helm. What are those first couple of weeks like for a new manager coming in? You've been in changing rooms where there's been new coaching staff, management coming in. What are you looking for from them? Because there's obviously some big personalities, big characters in these changing rooms, and it could be daunting for people like Maresca and Areola, regardless of what they've achieved so far. What's those first couple of weeks like? Are you almost sussing them out?
As players, yeah, you're sussing them out. And as a manager, Maresca's a little bit different. Obviously, he's been at Man City. He's probably still knows quite a few of the players. But you're looking at Areola going into Liverpool. He has a completely different way of playing compared to Slot did last year. So I would imagine they're going to be high intensity. Looking at Liverpool over the pre-season, they're giving away a lot of 2-0 leads. Going back to new managers coming in, some managers will want to go in and change everything. Some managers will, be a bit cautious and do bit by bit. It just depends on what the manager feels the state of the club is really in. If a manager's been brought in to change absolutely everything, they'll go in and do it as quick as possible. Other ones, if the club has performed well the year before, will gradually implement their own little bits on the team, stamp their own bits down on it, with people being late, etc., stuff like that. Because, players are... we do try to get away with what we can get away with. So if a new manager comes in and one of your better players are kind of towing the line, that's where you might have to put your foot down and show kind of who is the boss when you come in.
Yeah, I actually watched the Jose Mourinho documentary this week, and he was very open on what the dynamic was like when he came into Real Madrid. He called them spoiled. He said, his captain Iker Casillas in the very first time he spoke to him was like, we need to start training later at this time because the traffic in Madrid isn't great here. Do you have to have a little bit of a leeway as a gaffer like that to, let's say, allow players to drop the kids to school, to push it out by a couple of hours? What's the dynamic like that? Have you had people come in nearly with an iron fist and rule?
Yeah, I've had a bit of both. I've had managers that listen to players. Look, you feel for Iker Casillas there, really, because he's probably getting told by the other players, asking, can you go speak to the manager? And Mourinho's probably thinking, who's this guy coming in? I have to show who's boss. This is the way we're going to do it. He's probably thinking, as you can tell by watching Mourinho's documentary, he's probably thinking, you have family at home who can drop the kids off. Your time is now for work. You're here. You've been paid pretty well. You come in when we tell you to come in. So it's kind of, there's two different types of managers. There were managers who'll come in, as I said, straight away, I'll put the foot down and say, no, this is when we're in. We're going to be in from 7 o'clock till 6 o'clock. You just have to deal with it. And then there'll be other managers who'll come in, will help with the family situation. Yes, we can adapt certain things. But again, you give players too much leeway. It depends. They might take, if you give a player an inch, they'll take a mile.
Let's move on to the reigning Premier League champions, Arsenal, up against City for the first time as champions in 23 years, and they blew them out of the park in the Community Shield final. I was maybe slightly surprised with this, albeit there is a lot of change at City with the likes of Bernardo Silva, Rodri going, and obviously Pep leaving. Is there cause for concern in Manchester?
Going on Man City, yeah, because you're looking at, you got Stones is also left, you got Rodri now looks like he's going, and then you got Bernardo Silva. You've got three big players in that dressing room that were there more or less from the start with Pep. Rodri mightn't have had the best season last year, but he was definitely the best player in the World Cup. He's a Ballon d'Or winner. He is the best number 6 in the world. Anybody's going to feel losing him. And then you have Bernardo Silva, probably played the most minutes for them last year. He was available for every game. He runs everywhere. He gets everywhere on the pitch. And you can tell by the way Pep spoke about Silva off the pitch, he's going to be a big miss for them. So after seeing what I saw on Saturday, I know it's one game and it's the Community Shield. I was expecting the usual, a 1-1 game, going to extra times, player feeling their way into the game. But I was really impressed with Arsenal, which kills me to say being a United fan, but they were just at it, and they were at it from the start.
Yeah, and they have strengthened as well. You always look at their defence and midfield for being so consistent and such depth there. They've only added to that with Bruno Guimaraes. I know Christian Solis has come in on the left wing as well, another good option there. But Bruno coming in, does he improve them? Because I know LEWIS-SKELLY, his role in that first goal was fantastic, and it looks like he could be out the door as well.
There's a few things on this. Bruno, yes, I think it's a brilliant sign. I think he has been amazing for Newcastle over the last couple of years. And you can tell he is a Arteta type of player. He plays with that intensity, he plays with passion. He gives everything he can. And I actually feel him and Rice will complement each other quite well. A lot of people are saying that Bruno might sit a lot more than Rice. I think the sitting might suit Rice a bit more this year, especially with the minutes he's played last year, conserving his energy. Bruno can score and make goals, so I think that dynamic will work really well. So, yeah, and then Solis on the wing came in, had 2 assists at the weekend. I still think maybe Arsenal should look at another striker. I'm still not sold on Gyökeres. I know he's a big fan of Havertz. So I still maybe think a left winger forward player should come in for Arsenal. Don't know how long Saliba's going to be out for. That would be a big one for them. But looking at Arsenal from the weekend, they are the team to beat, and they don't look like stopping at the moment.
One team that will be hoping to stop them this year is Liverpool. We mentioned Andoni Iraola coming in. Do you see them challenging, or is this going to be somewhat of a transition year?
I think it will be a bit of a transition. I think there'll be a few blips along the way. I think the Liverpool fans will love the football that Iraola will play. But as we said, in some of the pre-season games, they're winning 2-0. Then they get pegged back. I know they're only pre-season games, but that can start to come into the season. We all know how good Iraola is with the football that he has, with the players that he's had at his disposal back in Bournemouth. I would like to see, and I'm hoping to see, Wirtz have more of an impact in the team this year. I think he needs to, for a big fee that's come in. I think anybody who's been bought for over 100 million doesn't and shouldn't need a settling in period. You got to be able to deal with that factor. And then obviously, Isak, keep him fit, get him scoring goals. He can score. So I'm interested in that kind of side for Liverpool. But then I'm also worried with the players that they've lost in Salah, Robertson. Again, big players off the pitch. I know Salah didn't have a great season last year. And then they've lost Konate as well. I still feel like they need to strengthen a bit more at the back. And the midfield still seems not as dynamic as it usually was.
Yeah, we're going to move on to our first game that we're broadcasting on Premier League Live in the 2026-27 season. It's Hull City and Man United. And for the first time in quite a number of years, there seems to be real optimism among United fans. Are you one of those optimistic United fans, Alan?
I am, and I think it's the fact is obviously Carrick has been given the job now full time. he can now fully implement what he wants, even though I think he done it quite well last year with the last 6 months. I think bringing in Tielemans is probably going to be one of the best value for money signings this season. To get him at 35 million, Premier League experience, international, performed really well everywhere he's been. So I'm really happy with that signing. Obviously, to bring in Santos as well, that's a bit of an unknown for me. But I think their business has been pretty smart. I do feel they don't. The top line, I'm quite happy with. They did that last year. They've got a lot of players that can play in different positions to help with the forward line, especially striker. I'm worried at left back and in centre half. I think they need to look at addressing that. And we go back to LEWIS-SKELLY. If he's on the way out from Arsenal, you could fill two positions in one player there. I still think they could help with centre midfield and that left back. For me, I couldn't understand why LEWIS-SKELLY would be allowed to leave Arsenal, especially after watching him at the weekend. But if they do let him go, I'm hoping Man United are one of those teams that are going in for him.
Yeah, they've also been in and discussions in around Lewis Hall. If you had the option between the two Lewises, LEWIS-SKELLY or Lewis Hall, who would you like United to spend the money on?
If you're going just predominantly for a left back, if you're just saying I just need a left back, I'd go for Lewis Hall. But the fact is that United are back in Europe, a lot of games. Why not get a player who can play two different positions? And he plays them pretty well. So overall, I'd probably lean towards LEWIS-SKELLY, as in to be able to cover a few positions in the team, because there's a lot more games for United this year.
Yeah, and that's going to be something, because I think they played the bare minimum games last year in terms of no Europe and early exits from both cups. Is that something that could catch you out around that busy festive period in December? Could be rosy up until then. Is that something that you'll have to keep an eye on in terms of legs and minutes for the players?
I think so. That's what I fear for United. I think that's happened to a few teams over the years where they've had no football the year before, and then they go into it, and then you can see them kind of drop off. So that's why I'm hoping that there is another midfielder coming into that team along with a left back. And as I said, LEWIS-SKELLY would fit both of them. It gives you to be able to cover both positions. Possibly a centre half, but I know they don't have much. We can obviously hear from being a United fan, you can hear they don't have too much to spend, and they're not going to be silly with what they spend, which is, good to hear after what's happened over the last 10 years. I just do feel for them, that all these games, especially for someone like Bruno Fernandes, he won't be able to play every game, and look how influential he is. He will obviously try to play every game. It's the way he is as a player. But you will have to protect him, or you could see a Rice situation where he could literally just tire himself out the whole season.
Their opponents, Hull City, shocked the Championship last year. You're a man who watches a lot of EFL and Championship football as well. It seemed to really come out of the blue. A former teammate of yours, John Egan, still in the ranks, back in the Premier League. What's your feelings around Hull City this year? It'll be a huge task to stay up, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just be honest. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really hard challenge for them. Look, I think it came out of the blue last year that people saw them get promoted. They conceded, I think it was 66 goals in the Championship last year. So defensively, in the midfield area as well, they need to make sure they're really tight. They're probably going to have to play a lot of games on the counter-attack. It's great to see them there. Obviously, everybody wants to see. They don't want to see the teams that come up go down, and that was a great thing to see last year. That it was all change. But I'm just going to stick with, I do have Hull to go down. I just think there's maybe not enough there at the moment. But going on to John Egan, what a guy, what a character, what a leader. I was with John at Brentford, obviously played with him with Ireland. He's had a couple of rough years after being at Sheffield United. To see him come back and do what he does, I'm a big fan of John. I think John should be in around the starting team for us as a Irish defender. I think he can challenge those boys. But yeah, it's just great to see John back. He's one of those guys that and a manager wants in his team. Whenever he's fit, you want him in. He's one of those guys where if the ball's there on the floor, he'll throw his head at it. He's one of those kind of guys.
Next game we are showing on Premier League Live, 3 p.m. It's Nottingham Forest and Leeds United. And if there's one team that's really impressed me with recruitment this summer, it's Leeds. You saw James Trafford come in for big money from Manchester City. Harry Wilson on a free from Fulham seems to be a real coup. And then Tarek Mohramovic, 37 million from Sassuolo. They're a team building, and it doesn't look like Leeds are just wanting to avoid the drop anymore, to potentially push into that top half and look for European football.
Yeah, definitely. You look at the signs that they brought in Harry Wilson, you go to him for the season he had at Fulham. I was just surprised, and I don't mean it about that someone a little bit higher up the league wasn't coming in for Harry Wilson. I don't know. Maybe there was, and he just chose Leeds. Leeds is a big club, but he's a great player. He's going to score him an awful lot of important goals. He can play in the number 10 position off the wing. I think Trafford's a good signing. I felt sorry for Trafford last year, being brought back, probably been told he's number one, makes a mistake, start of the season. Then Man City bring in obviously one of the best goalkeepers in the world in Donnarumma, and he's back to square one. So I think he will be itching and ready to go, and I think he'll want to show why I feel he will be the one to push Pickford to be England's number one in the next couple of years. I think if he has a good season, he could take that number one spot off Pickford in the next year or two.
How far up can Leeds finish? Calvert-Lewin staying fit is going to be absolutely vital in terms of goals and big moments across the season. Where do you think that they actually could get to?
They could be. I have them in my mind. What I'm looking at, mid-table, just maybe outside Europe. I feel like there's one or two other teams that could probably just pip them to getting into Europe. For, as you said there, I think Calvert-Lewin's vitally important. I think he showed last year a full season for him. I think it's the most games he's played in a long time. He was one of their most influential players. I would put Calvert-Lewin down as your like old school centre forward. He likes to go for challenges. He likes to rough up defenders, and he's still got a bit of pace about him. Obviously, his finishing's maybe not to the top quality, but he brings the team into play a lot. So I think he'll be vital for them. I just think that they might miss out on Europe, but I have them into being around mid-table.
Yeah, their opponents, Nottingham Forest. The headlines around them is losing Elliot Anderson for big money to Manchester City. It's going to be almost impossible to replace him and his role in the team. But there still seems to be quality across the board there. You look at how vital Gibbs White is, how disappointed he probably was to miss out on England's World Cup squad. It was a tough season last year for them. But can they get back to the heights that we saw in the 2024-25 season?
I think the big thing for Forest is that they've got a manager in Glasner who wants to win. That's simple as, and he'll know his job is that I have to do something this year or else I'm going to be sacked. We know the Forest manager doesn't hang around. He likes to get involved. I've watched Glasner's team, Palace, play against Brentford last year. I was at the stadium. He is constant. He's on the edge of he is on the touchline. He's giving out instructions. He never looks happy. He's always on his players. I think that kind of intensity for Forest will be pretty good. I think he will be excellent for someone like Gibbs White as well. He finished off the season really strong. Obviously, he might be in the back of his mind feeling that he should have gone to the World Cup. And let's be looking at it, England looked like they could have done with one or two more number 10s. So, yeah, Forest, I think, will go strong. They've got a good squad. Obviously, Elliot Anderson is a big miss, but it's very hard for a team like that to be turned down 116 million for a player. So I think Forest will go well under Glasner. I fancy them to go well in one of the cups. I feel like he will go for one of the cups and try to win it.
Yeah, and it's what he did, obviously, with Crystal Palace a couple of years ago. Are you a bit surprised that there hasn't been that much transfer talk around Morgan Gibbs White, considering he was looked on the verge of joining Spurs last year before Mr. Marinakis and Morgan Gibbs White agreed a brand new contract? Are you surprised that other teams haven't come in and tried to pip them?
I think it will be the fact of what happened last year. Nobody will try sign Gibbs White because Marinakis is not letting him go. Simple as that. He doesn't need the money. He probably doesn't want the money. He's so influential for the Notts Forest team. He's been made captain. I just think teams are probably thinking I'm not wasting my time to try to go in for him when we can't prize him away, because he was literally done to Spurs, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden just stopped. So I think it'll be more the fact is that people don't want to test Marinakis' patience, really.
Yeah, you'd have to be a brave man to be doing that. We're going to move on to our final kickoff of Saturday. It's Brentford, your former side, against Spurs. Brentford, everyone's favourite second team over here with the Irish connection, with the likes of Keith Andrews, Queven Kelleher and Nathan Collins. What a season last year. An amazing debut season at the helm for Keith Andrews. What's the feeling like around them?
Quietly very good from what I'm hearing is that they are looking forward to this season. The fact they've kept Thiago as well. And I think that coincides with, I think we spoke before, I said if Thiago has a good World Cup he will be sold. I think the fact, for a positive for Brentford, that it didn't really work out for him. He didn't really get to show much at the World Cup, so he was staying. So people are probably thinking, let's see if he can do it for a second season in the Premier League. I think they spent well in midfield. Sangari's come in, really good signing, club record. And then obviously Damien Duffer's there now. We know what Damien's like from the League of Ireland. I think he's intense. He's thorough in everything he's done. He's like Keith in that. So I think they'll bring some fresh ideas to the team. Towards the end of last season with Brentford, I think because of how small the squad was, you could see that they kind of drifted away, and I think Keith kind of felt that as well. So I feel like they've recruited well. They brought in Anthony from Burnley as well, Callum Wilson, which I think is a very, very shrewd signing. I think that's a good signing. He'll get them a couple of goals, whether he'll start. I think coming off the bench, he'll definitely get them a couple of goals, gives them that experience that Jordan Henderson has now left. He might take up that role. So yeah, I'm quietly confident for Brentford. This is one of my favourite games to see over the weekend, to be honest, especially with Spurs now as well, with their recruitment. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, let's chat about Spurs recruitment. It seems the fear of going down 2 17th place finishes in a row. They are leaving no corner untoned. John Paul Van Hecke, Marcus Senesi, Andy Robertson, Sandro Tonali, Mateus Fernandez all in the door, with a bomba signing on the way, according to Roberto De Zerbi, being linked with the likes of Cody Gakpo, Savinho at City as well. It's a strange one with Spurs because it's very new look, but some tried and trusted Premier League players there that have great experience and hundreds of games under their belt.
Exactly. It's kind of Spurs have done what Man United done last year. They've gone for proven Premier League players. You look at Tonali, the fact they've got him from Newcastle, I still find that. I'm like, why didn't United go in from obviously the money? You can tell why. Man United have bought in 2 players for that. I think it was 85 million they've spent. They spent 100 million just on Tonali, and they've spent 85 million on Fernandez, which I think is a lot of money on Fernandez, to be honest with you, for players who've just been relegated. But I look at Tonali and I look at Robertson. I think they'll be their 2 most influential players. Tonali on the pitch, Robertson helping with off the pitch stuff, and obviously he's going in there to play as well. I just feel for Spurs that this is probably the worst game they could have got to start off with a new squad, going to Brentford at the G-Tech, knowing what it's like on its first game of the season. I feel like it's going to be a tough game for Spurs, even though I think they'll do well this year.
Lacking a slight bit of firepower up front?
Yeah, that would be the one next as a striker for them. Look, Solanke just can't seem to stay fit at the moment. He's a proven Premier League striker. If you get him fit, yeah, you're well. Richarlison divides opinion. I'm not a Richarlison fan. It comes on to me, just comes on and runs around and runs into people, wants to cause trouble. I know that it looks good at times, but you want a striker at times who comes on, holds the ball up and can score your goals. I think they need to look at getting another striker in to help with Solanke when he's fit. And Gakpo is the one that they seem to be going for, don't they, at the moment?
Yeah, looking like Gakpo himself keen on a move to Spurs. Also, if Liverpool can get more people through the door. We're going to just touch on the other pro teams before I put you to the test of some predictions, Alan. Ipswich Town, another one of your former clubs, club close to your heart, back in the Premier League. What I'm going to ask you is, though, what do Ipswich need to do this season that they didn't do in 24-25 when it saw them drop back down to the Championship?
So the thing with Ipswich this time is that they're ready for the Premier League. They're ready to go up. The last time they did back-to-back, which is unbelievable. I think when they went up to the Premier League first time round, they were learning as they were going along, maybe a bit naive with certain ways they were playing still. If you look at what they brought in now this year, they brought in Premier League experience. They brought in the 2 players from Fulham. They brought in Diop and they brought in Lukic from Fulham as well. I think Daison Maeda, from Celtic, is a great boy. I think everybody looking at that, especially people who watch Celtic, speaking to some Ipswich fans down here, I've said to them already, they're going to fall in love with him after the first 2 games. I know he can be frustrating at times, but he will give everything. They've signed Fatua as well from Leicester, who's caused them a number of problems over the last year or 2. So I think they've recruited really well, as in they can attack, high press, and then they can also play a counter-attack when they need to away from home. And I think Gary's also looked at with the possibility of being able to play a 3-4-3 instead of just playing with his 4-3-3 at the moment. So he's given them he's given himself lots of room to manoeuvre as in what way he wants to play in certain games.
Kieran McKenna going, though, seemed to be a bit of a bombshell. What was the opinion around the club there? Was it expected?
I think, obviously, being at the last game of last season, and actually, funny enough, I ran into Kieran 2 or 3 weeks after the season finished, and he did look tired. You could tell his voice was still going, obviously, probably from the celebrations. I generally believe this is so he doesn't burn himself out. He's done 5 years in a row, and he's a 24/7 manager. He is in there all the time, always football. He's got a young family. I think he was thinking, got them promoted, end on a high, I can have a bit of a break. His stock will still be high when he comes back. Also, maybe looking at it thinking, if he didn't keep them up, does he get stuck at being a championship manager? So I think it's smart on both sides, really. He's done so much for the club. He's a legend down here. And nobody begrudged him for doing that. I think everybody was just like, I think they were all just pretty upset to see him leave, as in, for what he'd done for the club in a good way.
And finally, just another man who has maybe something to prove in the Premier League as a manager still, Frank Lampard. What a job he did at Coventry City. Lovely style of football, cruised through the championship last year. Do you think that they could be the one that you'd fancy to stay up as well?
I'm looking at Coventry and thinking it could be an era of Ipswich going up the first time in 24, 25. Playing that sort of way, I don't think Frank will change the way he's playing. I love the way he plays football, but I think he likes playing that way. And I just feel they might come unstuck against the better teams that will pick them off. They have recruited well. They've recruited some Premier League experience, but I just feel Frank likes to play a certain way, and I feel like, will he change from that? I don't think he's one of those managers that will be utterly stubborn in what he does, but I think he will always have the same principles of what way he wants to play. So I've sadly got Coventry to go down.
All right, Judger, let's get into these predictions. So you did fantastically well in Green with Envy. You seem to call everything from golden boots to the winners in Spain. So we're going to see if you can do the same now. We are going to revisit this in May come crunch time. Who is your...
It's a lot harder, though.
There's a lot more to it, isn't there? Right.
Yeah.
Who's winning the title?
Arsenal. Don't think everybody else is in transition by the looks of it. I don't think United will be strong enough just to fight off on all fronts. Liverpool transition. Man City a bit worried. Chelsea obviously only have the one game a week. But I'm going to stick with Arsenal. They've improved the squad. Bringing in Bruno Guimaraes, I think, shows their intent as well. So stick with Arsenal.
Okay, now you're 2, 3, 4, and 5.
This is where I'm probably going to cause a bit of a oof on some people. I'm going to go with Chelsea to finish second. I think Xabi Alonso coming in, one game a week. He's brought in Morgan Rogers, 115 million. Has to hit the ground running. Has to prove why he was bought for that. For me, Cole Palmer, with the season he had last year, I think he's going to be absolutely pivotal and missing out on the World Cup. To Alonso, I feel he will get the best out of him. And then I liked him bringing in the experienced players. I think that just showed they're changing their model a little bit. Bringing in Henderson, bringing in Welbeck. I think that will, those two people will hold players accountable for not doing their job. And that will go a long way in that team, I think. That, for me, on the other side, that's interesting to see how Henderson gets on with Fernandes if he stays there. Because I know Henderson won't take that nonsense, even if he is a World Cup winner.
So you've Chelsea second. That's a bit of an out there one.
Man City third, Man United fourth, Liverpool fifth. I just think I could have gone for United over City, but I just feel like City have enough they know how to play. They're used to playing Champions League with the cup games, etc. So I've gone for City to finish third. And Man United fourth.
Over the last couple of years, we've seen some darters into European football, the likes of Forest a couple of years ago. We saw Bournemouth last year. If you're picking someone here with an outside chance of Europe or who will have that in their front of mind, who would you be going with?
So I've got two. You're probably not going to be surprised with one of them that I'm going to bring on. I've got Brentford in there. I think Brentford just missing out. They've improved the squad. Players are going to be coming back fit. And obviously, I look at the money that Spurs has spent. They should be up and around there. But I'm going to stick with Brentford as my dark horses to get into Europe this year.
player of the year?
I'm going to go with, which kills me to say, I'm going to go with Bruno Guimaraes. I think he'll be a big difference too. I think he'll be pretty influential for Arsenal this year. And we're not even getting to speak about Zubimendi sitting on the bench and Moreno, and the squad is so strong. So, but you bring in Guimaraes for 75 million, he's going to be playing. And I think him and Rice will complement each other really well.
Young player of the year?
This is the one I'm stuck on. Don't know what's going to happen with LEWIS-SKELLY. Nico O'Reilly, think he's been excellent for Man City. I've also got Krupi and Ingamoa. I like the look of both of them. But I'm going to go with Krupi. I just feel like Krupi has that something. If he starts off really well, he could be gone by January to a big club like a Barcelona, etc., something like that. I think he's exceptional.
And finally, who is going down?
I've got Hull, Coventry, Fulham.
I agree with you. That if I was pushed for 3, Judger, I think I'd be going the same. Fulham could be in a bit of trouble then, despite the last year's Real Madrid manager coming in.
Yeah, but he got that. No offense, he got that at default for what was going on at Real Madrid. Not saying he won't do well there, but their pre-season looking into has been a bit up and down. You can still, previous manager Silva, he had so much influence on that team. The recruitment, haven't seen too much activity. It was between Fulham and then I also had Sunderland to be in and around there, just with their second season being in Europe. Will they do the same? But I've just gone for Fulham. I'd like to think I've gone a bit out there to see. I feel like I don't think all 3 teams coming up will go down.
Well, Alan, pleasure having you on. We're going to revisit in a couple of weeks' time, see how those rogue shouts are going. But you're off on the holidays now, so I'll let you go over, top up that tan even more.
Lovely. I look forward to it. I won't even get to be sitting in the sun. I'll be just lying in the pool chasing after 3 kids.
Alan George,
well, I can't complain. I'd rather do that. No problem.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks for having me.
The Inside is brought to you by Sky Sports. Sky Sports, your home of football. Get Sky Sports today for just €20 a month for 12 months.